Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Friday, April 3rd, 2009. This morning I'd like to continue with the Notes application that I started yesterday. So let's load this from my repository. So we'll click here. Then once that's done, you'll see that it's going to come up as available in the loaded section. So I'll go into that. And now I will go back to my classes. So I have Notes List UI here. And let's just take a look at what we have. We'll go up here to Browse, and we'll go to notes.html. And we'll see this is what we have. What I'd like to do is add search capability to this, meaning what if I wanted to find all of the ones that had quick somewhere in the description or the title? Well, let's go back over here and go to the source code. And what we need to do is we need to modify an inherited method. Now, again, you might wonder, how would I know what method to modify? Well, we can go to Visibility and go up here to Generic List UI. And you'll see that there are methods here that we've inherited. We could go one level up, Generic Collection UI, and we can see there are even more. So if we go to Rendering, if you go down here to Render Actions On, you'll find this is where we paint the button that says New. What we'd like to do is have that button there, but we'd also like to have a new button that just has search capability and then a restore to getting everything. So let's go ahead and build that method. We're going to go here and add a new method to Rendering HTML. We're going to change this to Render Actions On HTML. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the one we inherited first, Super Render Actions On HTML. And now we need to write the new code. So let's put in text, HTML text, search. So we have the little label for our action. And now what we want to do is put in an input field, but I'm going to separate it with a space. So HTML text input on. Now here I'm going to say search text of self. Now that implies that I have an input field named search text. I don't. So what I'm going to do is go to Variables, and I'm going to add a variable called search text. Now I could add some documentation for this, but I'm not going to bother yet. So I'm going to leave that be. Then I'm going to go back to source code. Let's go back to Render Actions On and complete this. So now that we've got our field, we need to add a button. So HTML button. And the way this works is you give it a callback. And the callback is self apply search, which is a method I haven't written yet. And then a cascade and value search. And now what we want to do is we want to add a button that restores us back to getting everything. So we'll have another button, HTML button, callback, and this one will be self return to all. Again, cascade, and its value is all. And that basically gives us all the functionality we need. Now we just need to go in and add our two action methods. So let's go down here to the Actions protocol, and we'll add in a new method, and we'll call this apply search. So this is our search method. Now here's the point where you're actually going to take advantage of the active record code, and I'm going to copy this code over from somewhere that I've pasted it because there's a fair amount of typing here. And I'll just go over it. So here, what I do is I declare a block and a term. Now the term is %, the search text as lowercase %. And that's the way I structure SQL to do a wildcard search. And the as lowercase is so that I get my search for all text regardless of case. And notice here, I come in and look for each title as lowercase, like term, and each description as lowercase, like term. What I have to do here to create my query block, I've already got a query that's going to give me everything. What I need to do is effectively create the where clause, and that means I handed a block, and this is sort of SQL-like syntax. Now you might again wonder, how did I know to go to the paginator and add this filter? I add a named filter and handed the block. Well again, if I go to the superclass, I find out that that's the way these queries work, is there's a filter block, and I can either give it named filters to build up my where clause, or I can remove them. So if you want to guess how the return to all method is going to work, it's basically just going to remove that filter. So I do return to all, and then what that code is going to look like is self paginator, remove filter, search filter. So all it does is restore the old behavior. Now let's see how that looks. Let's go to Browse, notes.html, and you see now I've got my search field, and I've got a search button and an all button. So let's say quick, assuming I could spell it. So let's do that, search, and you see it brought me back my first element, and I do all, I get everything. So search, everything still works. So if I close this, I go back here again with that filter still in place, and all gives me everything. Now, the one thing that this doesn't do is it doesn't do this in an Ajax type of fashion. When I'm doing this, when I hit this search button, you'll notice that what it's doing is it's doing a full submit back to the server and then bringing everything back. What if I wanted all of this to be Ajaxified so that I didn't have to redraw the entire screen? I only had to redraw maybe this little section here. That's what we're going to get to next time. I think that'll do it for today, though. We've learned how to create a basic query for our application by customizing the scaffolding to support it. So until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.